Hi and welcome to today's live chapter reading of The Husband by Pamela DuMond. Chapter 1, Before. Evie. I'm 14 when Mum's finally released from the halfway house after serving her sentence for reckless driving, and it feels like a fresh start. The courts allow me to leave foster care and live with her again. We moved to a small apartment on the outskirts of downtown Milwaukee. Squat two-storey brick buildings line narrow streets demarcated by thin patches of scrubby grass and different coloured curtains hanging in the windows. The air smells like traffic and hums with the hustle-bustle of hard-working people. Mum scores a job clerking at Dan's sporting goods store, which works for me because I get to transfer to a new high school where no one knows about my past and I get a 40% discount at Dan's, tights, runners, everything. The kids in the block are a few years older than me, but they don't care if I hang out, as long as I don't try to sit with them during lunch at school. Mum and I sip lemonade with their families on crumbling front porches in the summer and roast marshmallows around a rusty fire pit in autumn. I love it here. It's practically heaven, except the courts don't think Mum's ready to have custody of Ruby yet, as she's too young, only 7 years old, safely tucked away with a picture-perfect foster family in the suburbs. Mum keeps following her therapist-approved protocol. She sees her shrink at the clinic and takes the prescribed drugs. Together we practice the calming meditation, yoga, breathwork and chanting because it helps to have a support group even if it only consists of one's daughter. We go to church, recite liturgy and take communion from the priests. All these combined activities seem to keep the worst of her anxiety at bay, but it still circles, and I know only too well what anxiety triggers too much bad stuff. I try to help. I do the dishes, clean the house, even bring her flowers on occasion. Daisies or something starting to wilt and on sale at the grocery store. But I can see Mum struggling, her emotions teetering. Every night I pray to God for help, that she doesn't slip into another manic episode. One morning Mum sits in front of the small vanity in her bedroom, applying makeup while I do her hair. I section her shoulder-length locks, fashion them into an updo, securing them with rhinestone clips. Why are we getting dressed up? I ask. Because we're visiting Ruby for her birthday. She's turning 8. She doesn't care what we wear. We're not dressing up for her. We're dressing up for Mr. and Mrs. Ryan. They want to talk to me about something important regarding your sister. What could be important about Ruby? I secure a chunk of hair in her messy bun. Maybe she's not socialising at school. Mum plays with the stacked silver rings on her fingers, spinning them. I shake my head. She's a friendly kid. Acting out? She refused to eat her vegetables? What, she need braces? Would that be horrible? I can't afford braces. Mum chews her lower lip. Her teeth looked great last time I saw her. You're my sweet girl, Mum smiles and squeezes my arm, always trying to cheer me up. We take the train from the city to the suburbs. I lean my head against the window, watching the houses pass by in a rattling blur, thunder rumbling, lightning striking in distant summer fields. By the time we get to the town where Ruby lives and catch the bus to her neighbourhood, the heavens have opened, spilling fat drops. I snap the umbrella and hold it over both of us. It's almost half a foot from Mum's head, but skims the top of mine. I've grown 3 inches in the past year, and Mum's grown smaller since the accident, since she went to prison. We walk a few blocks, leaning into the rain that falls harder. Mum pauses every few houses we pass, checks numbers on mailboxes and curbs, the ink bleeding on the scrap of paper in her hand. They all kind of look the same, don't they? I ask. Yes, they all look spacious, clean and nice. She stops on the newly paved sidewalk and stares up at a house. This is it, 1421 West Grove Avenue. A dog barks in the backyard. I've been here twice before, but I always wait outside while Mum collects my sister. It's perfect, isn't it? Mum gazes at the house. Every time I come here, I can't help thinking this is the perfect house. The one I always dreamt about giving you and your sister. She squeezes her hands tight, knuckles blanching. I like where we live, I say. Besides, a picket fence and a dog doesn't guarantee a good home. I'm getting wet. Can we ring the bell? Give me a moment. She applies lipstick, checking her reflection in a little compact mirror that she pulls from her scuff purse, her hands shaking. I know she thinks it's perfect, but something doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like the grandparents' front porches in our neighbourhood. It doesn't hum with the hard-working hustle of the city. I stare at the house until the little hairs on the back of my neck prickle, because I swear the house is watching back. Mum, ready now? I think. I just think this conversation with them about Ruby makes me nervous, Mum says, squaring her shoulders. I'm ready. I can do this. You can always tell them it's Ruby's birthday, I say, that you'd rather not talk about the big thing today. It's okay, she squeezes my arm. I've got this. Your mother has this. Wolf Manor, present day. 2 weeks ago I was sharing a bed with Wyatt Wolf in a palazzo in Sicily when he quietly stopped breathing. When he quietly died. Yet the moment my friend and I stepped foot inside his house to attend his memorial, I can sense his presence. It's as if he's still here in Wolf Manor, his gorgeous house on the lake in Sister Bay, Wisconsin. A lump grows in my throat as my eyes adjust to the living room's darkness, and then I see him. He sits cross-legged on the floor at the far end of the room, leaning back against the antique tapestry sofa, his black hair brushing against his cheek. A laptop is propped on his knees as he types furiously. Sun pours through the diamond-shaped stained glass window, bathing him in a rainbow of light. I freeze as if someone has hammered my shoes to a wooden floor. I stare at him and bite my lip so hard I taste copper blood. The memorial's outside. I bet everything's set up in the backyard, Amelia says, pinching my waist. Come on. Okay. We've got this, Victoria says, giving my arm an encouraging squeeze. Give me a moment, I say. But by the time I turn back, Wyatt is gone, and the lump in my throat is thicker than it was 30 seconds ago. I give my head a shake and follow Amelia through the room, noting with a sinking feeling that my friends and I are the only people here. There's no one here. Memorial services aren't all that much fun, especially not this close to the December holidays, Amelia says. Yes, but Wyatt was magical. He was kind and funny and a storyteller. He touched the lives of so many people through his books, I say. I thought there'd be a crowd turning up to celebrate him. Someone's banging about in the kitchen, Victoria says. I suspect we're just the first people here. Dogs bark and fuzzy heads pop up over the accordion gate separating the hallway from the kitchen. Molly, Pete, I say, my heart warming. Wyatt and I cocooned with the dogs in this beautiful old house for one idyllic week a few months back. I lay cuddled under a knitted throw with my head in Wyatt's lap as he read me his time travel fantasy books in front of a warm fireplace. What happens next? I asked, gazing up into chocolate eyes. He gave me a mischievous crook of a grin. What do you think happens next? I'm hoping this is the part where the Raven Prince gets his happily ever after with Evangelina the Good Witch. I crossed my fingers and held up my hands. Not yet. Wyatt captured one hand and kissed my fingers. We ate breakfast, lunch and dinner at the rustic wooden kitchen table because we were too ravenous for each other to sacrifice the time needed to go and eat out. We hung out in the backyard under bejewelled autumn leaves, made love in his bed in the attic bedroom under high-pitched whitewashed eaves. We savoured each other in a way we never did when we were junior high sweethearts. We lived life fully in our brief time until we left for the Laurent Clinic in Italy, where everything went downhill. The experimental treatment for Wyatt's autoimmune disease ravaged him. The sicker Wyatt grew, the more excuses the doctors made. He hasn't been on the drug protocol that long, Mademoiselle Berlinger. You have so many questions, Miss Berlinger. Patience, Miss Berlinger. Healing takes time. The weeks passed and he slipped through the cracks and I started praying. He circled that space between earth and sky and I prayed harder. Dear God, help heal my Wyatt and I'll find a way to make it up to you. Tell me what you want, I'll give you anything. We can come to an agreement. Say the word, God, set the terms. For a time I was foolish enough to believe my prayers were granted, because Wyatt looked and acted like he was getting better. We blew out of the clinic, ditched the palazzo and explored the exquisite Sicilian seaside town of Taormina. We went to an opera and made out during the soprano's aria. We visited Mount Etna, arms wrapped around each other, watching lava spit like flames like a 4th of July firework display. We drank sweet wine and sailed the Ionian seas, drunk on endorphins. They tangled our bittersweet love story and seduced us with what-ifs and if-onlys. What if Wyatt really was healing? What if he really could have a normal life? What if it was truly possible that we could be together? Wyatt asked me to marry him, and I said yes when I should have said no. The priest bound our wrists with satin ribbons in a ceremony before an altar in a lush Sicilian chapel, and it felt like God himself approved our union. But then, because all fairy tales must be smashed to hell, I broke the magic by having a threesome with Wyatt and his brother Easton. Oh, Evie, what were you thinking? I can practically hear you whisper with a hint of judgment under your breath. I'm not going to pretend this wasn't amazing, but honestly the physical entanglement between myself and the Wolf brothers was what Wyatt wanted. It was part of his grand plan. The thing he desired most in his last days on earth was to make sure I'd be taken care of when he was gone. So when Wyatt encouraged me to be with Easton, I went along with it. This time I didn't pick one brother over the other. I didn't step around Easton to rescue Wyatt. I deliciously, willingly allowed myself to be caught between the two of them, captured in the tempest of the boys, now men, I shattered years ago. But I messed up everything forever because I didn't make Wyatt stay. I let Wyatt die. The dogs bark again. Sorry, a uniformed server grabs their collars, restraining them. I meant to put them in a spare room before everyone got here. Stop daydreaming, Hope, my internal voice of reason admonishes. No worries, I say to the server and pull back the partition. I'll take care of the dogs. You don't have to do anything today, Evie, Amelia says. You're always taking care of problems, fixing people. None of that today. You showed up, Victoria says. That's all you need to do. The dogs make a beeline for me, and just like that I'm on the receiving end of thumping tails and sloppy tongues. I plant kisses on their faces and smile for the first time since Wyatt died. There's a tent at the far end of the backyard close to the lake, Amelia said. Hardly any people are here. I hope Wyatt had friends. Of course he had friends, I say. Based on the hordes of people piling out of vans in the driveway, I'd say he had plenty of friends, Victoria said. Is Easton coming? Amelia asks. I shrug. I'm going to track down his parents and offer my condolences, Amelia says, and walks out the back door. Me too. You want me to wait for you, kindergarten? Victoria calls me by my nickname. I shake my head. I'm cool. Good. Is Easton coming? I don't know. You told me what went down with you and the Wolf brothers in Italy, she whispers. That shit was hot, but heavy. Yup. I should probably leave it at that. Besides, Easton's been a decent boss. Victoria paces, her heels clicking on the dark natural stone floors. And who wants to mess with the boss man? No one. But here's the thing. If Easton Wolf doesn't show for his own brother's memorial... She swirls a bright, impeccably manicured finger in my face. He's the biggest ass in the world, and the next time I'll see him, I'll tell that to his face. She swivels on shiny black Marolos and stomps outside. Pete the golden retriever whines, looking dejectedly at his empty bowl. I make my way towards the pantry to grab dog food. I pass the narrow side table flush against a wall filled with framed prints. Snapshots of Wyatt and Easton hugging at Wyatt's graduation. The brothers and their parents on a vacation, palm trees in the background. Wyatt standing in front of the Wolf Hotel and Casino, thick marble marker in front of Easton's Tahoe Resort. Interspersed with the framed pictures are photos of Wyatt at book conventions. His arms are loosely wrapped around beaming fans clutching his novels. Dark, moody banners and matching branded swag feature his characters and covers. I shut my eyes because I know that if I keep looking at all these mementos, I'm going to burst out crying, and then I'll be a mess for the rest of the day, and I just can't. Instead, I fill the dog's bowls with kibble and add a little water. They follow me down the hallway to a guest room where I set the bowls on the woolen braided rugs next to the desk. Chill, I say, giving them each a pat. I'll be back soon. Good, Wyatt says. I startle. He sits on the Prussian blue love seat, his fists on his thighs. He wears a soft grey cashmere shirt and a pair of scuffed black leather boots. His muscular legs clad in jeans. His hair is long, raven dark, silky. His skin is pale, his chocolate full lips crimson red. He stares up at me with chocolate eyes. You, I say, goosebumps prickling the back of my arms. Yes? You asked me to make you stay. I promised I would, but you didn't. You tried. Apparently I didn't try hard enough, because I'm going to your funeral.